Never underestimate the predictability of stupidity. So listen to this. So Donald Trump is now back in a trade war with China over something that they started in June, and it's an all of a sudden thing, but it's not an all of a sudden thing. So Chinese airlines have orders for at least 222 Boeing jets. They currently have 1,855 Boeing jets in service, and they're talking with Boeing about the possibility of buying another 500 Boeing jets. So this is substantial. So yesterday, as part of a retaliation for something that China has been doing for months, Donald Trump said that he was going to increase tariffs on China and also put export restrictions on Boeing parts. Why would he do that? He's just potentially jinxing Boeing. He's basically saying to China, why would you buy Boeing jets if we can't get the parts? He's honestly, he's pulled the rug out of Boeing like you wouldn't believe. Why would China now buy an additional 500 Boeing airplanes if it can't get the parts for it? He has massively just undermined an American industry. Literally tens of thousands of well-paying jobs are now at risk because Donald Trump has put export restrictions on Boeing parts. China's going to go somewhere else. They're going to buy Airbuses or something else. I can't believe he's so stupid that he would do this. Folks, the source for this is Yahoo Finance. My name is Nick. Let me know what you think about this in the comments.
Right before they sent the president out to hold this partisan political rally with active duty U.S. Navy sailors in Norfolk this weekend, right before that trip, the Trump administration, for some reason, fired the U.S. Navy's chief of staff. And I have to say, it did not make a ton of news when that happened. I think in part because this is one in a long series of firings like this now, right? I mean, the military, by definition, is not a political body where the whole thing is supposed to turn over every time there's a new president. Since Trump has been back in office, he has just been destroying the top leadership of the U.S. military. Since Trump has been back in the White House, we have seen fired or pushed out the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, the head of the Navy SEALs, the chief of naval operations, the head of the Navy Reserve, now this weekend, the Navy Chief of Staff, the head of U.S. Cyber Command, the head of the Defense Intelligence Agency, the commandant of the U.S. Coast Guard, the chief of staff of the Air Force, the vice chief of staff of the Air Force, the head of the Air Force Global Strike Command, the top legal officer in the Air Force, the top legal officer in the Army, the top legal officer in the Navy. And in what may or may not be related news, the New York Times reports tonight that they have also removed the top legal official at the CIA. Because why not? All of these people have all been fired or pushed out by Trump, by the Trump administration. While simultaneously, Trump, as of this past week, is explicitly telling all the remaining top generals and admirals in the U.S. military that he wants them to plan to bring U.S. military operations. He expects them to bring the force of the U.S. military to bear against Americans at home in U.S. cities. Specifically, he told them that he wants to see U.S. troops, U.S. active duty military engagement against the cities of San Francisco, Chicago, New York, and Los Angeles. New York, Chicago, and Los Angeles are the three largest cities in the country. Trump wants the U.S. military to operate in those cities against the Americans who live there.
What grade would you give the education system in this country? Well, I know the grade the U.S. government gave itself in the latest national report card. Spoiler alert. It's failing. The 2024 education report card found things are bad for most students in both public and private school of all performance levels in all grades in the most important subjects, math, reading, and science. And just wait till you see how bad. But before I get there, I want to thank my paid Facts HQ subscribers for voting for this story as the bonus this week. If you want to vote on next week's bonus story, make sure you follow these easy steps and you become a paid subscriber too. Now, I cannot do this work without you and the generosity of my paid subscribers. Literally, my channel would go away if it weren't for them. So if you want to support my work and get some other cool perks too, please consider becoming a paid subscriber. Okay, so the National Center for Education Statistics is an agency within the U.S. Department of Education that is responsible for compiling what we know as the nation's report card. This assessment has been produced since 1969 and is required under federal law, so everyone understands how our education system is performing and what is going on with our school kids. So hopefully we can make things better. Well, the nation's report card for 2024 was just released last month before the government shutdown, and it found this. Average scores for 8th graders are worse in science than they were before the pandemic, and average scores in reading and math for 12th graders were worse than they were before the pandemic. But it's really bad when you start to look at the longer term trends. According to the report card, 8th grade science scores were actually similar to the scores from 8th graders in 2009. 12th grade math scores were lower than they were in 2005, and the report card found a record high 45% of high school seniors scored below basic in math, and nearly 1 in 3 12th graders were below basic in reading. In fact, the reading scores for seniors in 2024 were 25 points lower than what the seniors scored in 1992. Yikes. Now, there is a silver lining. Average math scores for 4th graders were up from 2022. So yay for that. But why? Why is this happening? Well, the report doesn't specifically say, and I know it's probably easy for all of us to blame this on the pandemic, but the fact is, it's not because of the pandemic, because these issues have been trending in this direction for more than a decade. And it's not just happening in one part of the country or just happening to girls or boys. This slide in education scores is actually happening almost everywhere for both boys and girls in, as I said, all of the age ranges. In science, scores declined between 2019 and 2024 in the Northeast, Midwest, and South, and scores were about the same for students in the West. When it comes to math, scores declined between 2019 and 2024 for students in the South and West regions of the country, but were not significantly different for students in the Northeast or Midwest. And in reading, scores declined between 2019 and 2024 for students in the Midwest and South regions of the country. Scores, by the way, were not significantly different for students in the Northeast or West. Now, perhaps this could be part of the issue. The report found 12th graders are increasingly absent from school. Nearly 1/3 of 12th graders in 2024 reported missing 3 or more days of school in the previous month. That is up from 26% in 2019. Now, the Trump administration points to reports like this to prove the president's position that the education department is failing and just should be eliminated. But critics say that's a horrible idea, and dissolving the education department will only worsen these scores and will just leave us with even more kids who can't perform the basics in reading, math, and science. Now, this video is just scratching the surface of this education report card. There is so much more information, even broken down by ethnicity. So if you want to take a look, I'm going to email everything out to you in my next Facts HQ email, so make sure you sign yourself up.
After spending the last 24 hours hearing people make excuse after excuse for Nobel Peace Prize winner Maria Machado's political relationship with Donald Trump, I was going to not make any more videos about her, but then I saw that the Council for American Islamic Relations posted this on their X account, and I feel somewhat vindicated. We strongly condemn the Nobel Prize Committee's unconscionable decision to award this year's Peace Prize to Maria Machado. Ms. Machado is a vocal supporter of Israel's racist Likud party, and earlier this year she delivered remarks at a conference of European fascists, including Geert Wilders and Marie Le Pen, which openly called for a new Reconquista, referencing the ethnic cleansing of Spanish Muslims and Jews in the 1500s. Nobel Peace Prize should go to individuals who have shown moral consistency by bravely advocating justice for all people, not to politicians who demand democracy in their own nation while supporting racism, bigotry, and fascism abroad. If you have to align yourself with another fascist despot in order to protect democracy in your own country, you are not someone that deserves my respect. I'm not giving her the benefit of the doubt. She is not being a pragmatist for aligning herself with the Trump administration and cheerleading them blowing up boats full of Venezuelan citizens in the Caribbean. No, she's not. She could choose not to do that. She could choose not to go on her X account and give Donald Trump credit for her winning the Nobel Peace Prize. Just because you are calling yourself a champion of democracy doesn't mean you actually are, because most of the MAGA party here in America believe they're also protecting democracy. No one is going to sit here and try to convince me that I need to give the benefit of the doubt to somebody who aligns themselves with fascists. Because in my mind, there's no aligning yourself with fascism. Let me ask you this. What would you call somebody in the 1930s and 40s, a political figure who decided to align themselves and cozy up to the Nazi Party in Germany because they knew it was going to help the people in their country survive or thrive or have better quality of life or whatever the case may be? You would call them in 2025, say it with me, class, a schmatzi. I am shocked by the amount of people on the American left who have been just completely willing to give this woman the benefit of the doubt when they know nothing about her. You have done no research. You haven't even done a Google search. I had more than one person say, until I hear her say it, I'm not going to believe it. I don't believe you. I'm sorry. You don't believe Politico. You don't believe her own X account. You don't believe Reuters, because they're all saying the same thing. Why is this important to talk about, you ask? Because a lot of people are telling me that I shouldn't even be talking about this. We have bigger fish to fry. I'm sorry, but the Nobel Peace Prize winner of 2025 dedicated her win to one of the most hated fascists on planet Earth right now. We are seeing a rise in fascism worldwide. And the woman that they decided to give the Nobel fucking Peace Prize to in 2025, she's sitting around at conferences talking with other far-right fascists about how they can bring about the next ethnic cleansing on the list. Should she give a damn about what the person she's decided to align herself with politically is doing to Latino Americans in the United States? She doesn't give a shit about that? Then she doesn't deserve the Peace Prize. This is important to talk about because it seems that the most powerful people in the world that believe they're champions of peace think that this is all acceptable. Everything that's happening in the United States, everything that's happening in the Middle East right now is not only acceptable but desirable. I think that's pretty important to talk about. And it also seems that the right is conflating the terms peace and democracy, and those are not the same things. Maria Machado was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize for trying to preserve democracy. I'm a big fan of true democracy, but also there have been a lot of shitty things that have been done to a lot of innocent people around the world in the name of preserving democracy. So I'm just not buying that that's what makes her a champion of peace. And what I'm trying to ask a lot of y'all who have interacted with me over the last 24 hours is, why are you so invested in the idea of her? Why are you making excuses for her? Why are you not doing the research to see who she really is and what she really stands for? Why are you so quick to make excuses for her? It's okay to not know. It is not okay to sit there and say, well, I'm just not going to believe this. If you say that, you're no better than MAGA. You have got to get your head out of the sand.
So today is Saturday, October 11th. A week from today, Saturday, October 18th, is the next nationwide No Kings protest. There are going to be protests and marches and events all across the United States, very likely involving several million people. And Republicans, so Donald Trump is threatening a lawsuit to prevent protest march from happening, as though, you know, I mean, I guess he did say last week that we did away with the First Amendment. We did away with free speech. But Republicans in Washington, D.C., I've heard at least 2 or 3 of them refer to this protest as an anti-American hate rally. And yesterday, during a press conference or something about the ongoing government shutdown, Johnson claimed, the Speaker of the House of Representatives said that Americans protesting against their government demonstrates that they hate America, and that the crowd is going to be composed of Antifa people and pro-Hamas people. Again, reiterating that if you disagree with this administration, this administration and elected Republicans consider you to be a domestic terrorist, which blows my fucking mind every time I say that. And so Mike Johnson said, now we've heard, and I'll turn it back over to the leader to take some questions, but we've heard, and many of you reported already, this Hate America rally that they have coming up for October 18th with the Antifa crowd, the pro-Hamas crowd, and the Marxists. They're all going to gather on the National Mall here in Washington, D.C. Johnson also claimed that House Democrats were selling T-shirts for the event while refusing to vote on reopening the government until after next Saturday. I have not heard one single Democrat say that. Johnson called it, quote, an outrageous gathering for outrageous purposes. So first, let me take this moment to say, fuck you, Mike Johnson. You are describing protest marches which are constitutionally guaranteed under the First Amendment. For his colorful description of the event, Johnson was roundly criticized on social media, with some critics reminding the speaker that the right to protest and assemble peacefully is guaranteed by the First Amendment. Joe Walsh wrote, my former political party is scared to death of the No Kings rallies, and that's great. So let's have a gazillion Americans out rallying all around the country on October 18th. Let's scare the shit out of Trump and his party. He makes a great point. Donald Trump is terrified of these marches. He's terrified of millions of white Americans protesting against him across the United States. He views all of us who are going to protest against him as race traitors. He is still desperate to have black people out in the streets protesting. They are taking some time off, much deserved. They did their job on Election Day 2024. We are responsible for this, Donald Trump, white people. Veterans for Responsible Leadership wrote, if you needed any more reason to attend a No Kings rally on October 18th, hearing this whiny little weirdo cry about it is a pretty good one. Empty Wheel wrote, really weird that Speaker Mike Johnson is using a Putin-esque approach to First Amendment protected activities. Weirder still that he's doing so in opposition to the proposition that United States of America should not have a king. That's what the protest is about. No kings, no dictators. Mike Johnson is saying, if you think that the United States should not have a king and that you think the United States should not have a dictator, that you hate America and that you are pro-Hamas and a Marxist. Anyway, fuck Mike Johnson.
Donald Trump puts America first, right after all the other countries that come firster. This is just another day. For years, Donald Trump has touted the idea of America first, and as luck would have it, today we had a first for America.
I'm also proud that today we're signing a letter of acceptance to build a Qatari Emiri Air Force facility at the Mountain Home Air Base in Idaho. The location will be host a contingent of Qatari F-15s and pilots to enhance our combined training, increase lethality, interoperability. Is just another example of our partnership.
Yep, just another example of a foreign country having a military facility on American soil. And by another example, I mean the first example, because this has not happened before with any country with whom we have no formal treaty. It is true that American troops are based all around the world on foreign soil, but that's because it makes sense. Those foreign nations get protection from the United States, and the United States, in turn, gets the benefit of being positioned in strategic locations around the world. But with this new arrangement, Qatar gets protection, and America gets, well, America gets what exactly?
The Trump administration is poised to accept that luxury jumbo jet, which has a value estimated at $400 million, as a gift from the government of Qatar.
Oh, a new plane. How nice of Qatar. I wonder if this new military base has anything to do with that generous gift they gave Donald Trump. But no matter, because as we all know, the president has no intention whatsoever of using this as his private plane once he leaves office. And congressional Republicans will make sure of that. Right?
The Washington Post reported a Senate panel narrowly voted down an amendment Thursday that would have prevented the military from transferring a Qatari jet to be used as Air Force One to President Trump's future library. The amendment, introduced by Senator Chris Murphy of Connecticut, failed on a 14-15 party line vote before the Chamber's Appropriations Committee.
Okay, well, still, at least we could trust that the plane is safe and not sent here from some state sponsor of terror, right?
The nation of Qatar, unfortunately, has historically been a funder of terrorism.
Okay, but look, that was the old Trump. Terrorism was more of a first-term kind of problem. And besides, there is a very sound logic to accepting a plane that's going to cost taxpayers $1 billion to retrofit.
Now, I could be a stupid person to say, oh, no, we don't want a free plane.
And this man is not stupid. But Trump isn't just putting America first by handing out military bases to other countries. He knows that sometimes the perfect gift is cold, hard cash.
The Trump administration finalizing a $20 billion Argentina bailout. Elizabeth Schulze has that story. Good morning, Elizabeth.
Good morning, Rebecca. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent says the U.S. finalized this controversial $20 billion financial lifeline for Argentina and also took the unusual step of directly buying Argentine pesos. This move is designed to prop up Argentina's struggling currency and support the country's embattled President Javier Milei, who's an ally of President Trump and faces midterm elections in a few weeks.
Well, that seems nice. I mean, not long ago, Milei was nice enough to part with one of his landscaping tools and gift it to Elon Musk, so maybe Trump is just trying to be equally hospitable. There's just one small problem with handing billions to Argentina.
U.S. soybean farmers are starting their harvest, but they face steep losses that could fuel farm bankruptcies and foreclosures nationwide.
This is awful discouraging. You know, we do our very best to grow a good crop, to feed the world, and then we can't hardly give it away.
Many growers say they feel betrayed after the Trump administration gave Argentina a financial lifeline, a $20 billion loan. Argentina then immediately dropped their soy tariffs to China, undercutting U.S. farmers.
As Trump always says, let those Spanish-speaking Argentinians sell the soybeans. We sell I am beans here in America. But thanks to Donald Trump's disastrous trade war with China, China has stopped buying soybeans from American farmers, which has decimated their businesses and livelihoods. But China is doing just fine because they're now buying soybeans from Argentina. So the America First president is bailing out a country who essentially has an America Last policy. But look, maybe I've got it all wrong and the farmers are doing just fine, because that's what Secretary of Agriculture Brooke Rollins told us yesterday.
The president's commitment is this, that we are moving into an era of rural prosperity, of a golden age for our farmers in rural America. The trade renegotiations and the trade realignment that Jameson and Scott and Howard have led with the president's leadership is unlike anything that's happened in the history of our country. And those that will benefit the most are the original Americans, our farmers and our ranchers.
First off, our original Americans, the farmers and ranchers, I believe some indigenous people heard that and said, hold my smallpox-infected blanket. But there's just one little thing that undercuts the rosy picture that Rollins is painting here, and that's the recent text that she herself sent to Scott Bessent saying that she's worried China has outmaneuvered the U.S. by buying up Argentina's soybeans at the expense of our farmers. It is the most embarrassing text that I've seen since Roman Roy texted his dad a dick pic intended for Jerry. And granted, while there was the obvious age disparity and kind of a bizarre power dynamic where Roman's dad owned the company, but Jerry was technically his superior, what they had was still kind of sweet in its own fucked up way. And in a world without so many societal expectations and often oppressive cultural norms, I actually really do think they could have been great. But Donald Trump's soybean tariffs are having real impacts on our farmers.
I don't think that the average American understands when you go down to the bank and get a crop loan, you've put all your equipment up, all your equity in your ground, you've put your home up, your pickup truck, everything up. And if they can't pay out, and if they've rolled over any debt from last year, they're going to call the auctioneer and they're going to line everything up and they're going to sell it.
I don't mean to seem like a know-it-all here, but if I've learned anything from watching this America First loving president, the simple solution is just scrape together a few $1 billion, pitch a farm-themed resort to the Qatari government, and then they'd be happy to bail us out. Right? Now, a lot of people may be wondering why a family as wealthy and powerful and patriotic as the Trumps would be getting involved with these other nations. And the answer is, they kinda had to.
You know, I had no other choice but to find crypto because the Biden administration was calling the big banks and saying, hey, you better not bank the Trump organization because if you bank those golf courses, if you bank those great hotels, you know, we're going to look unfavorably at you. That's exactly what was happening. That was all part of the weaponization. That's all part of how they put our family under siege.
Ah, yes. Under siege. I think we all remember, mere years ago, watching our brave soldiers take part in what many consider to be one of the most fierce engagements of modern American history, the battle for crypto. They may have been outflanked on every side, but led by General Eric, one courageous Trump after another crawled through the thick, untrimmed grass of their golf courses as they were relentlessly attacked by a tyrannical enemy determined to turn these heroic billionaires into mere multi-millionaires. But under Eric's firm leadership, the Trumps dug deep. They pressed forward with an unshakable fortitude, refusing to yield to exhaustion or numerous accusations of blatant corruption and conflicts of interest, and it's because of their sacrifice that every other American also has the freedom to leverage their father's name and procure 10-figure business deals. Thank you for your service. The reality is, Donald Trump is more than willing to risk our national security by having a foreign nation's military on American soil if it means adding a few more zeros to his own bank account. And he's happy to toss $20 billion Argentina's way as a show of support for his equally oddly haired friend, Javier Milei, all while American federal workers are going without pay and farmers are seeing their businesses evaporate. And look, I know what you're thinking. What about this?
During every single day of the Trump administration, I will very simply put America first.
Damn right. Every single day. Except holidays and weekends. Oh, and the days that come after Sunday but before Saturday. But other than that, every single day. I'm sorry, but come the fuck on. All of these moves fly in the face of what has been a cornerstone of Donald Trump's political agenda forever. It was in paragraph 2 of his inauguration speech. He threw the slogan on his lawn signs, his podiums. He even reiterated it under some wannabe Jerry Bruckheimer soundtrack.
From this day forward, a new vision will govern our land. It's going to be only America first.
How moving. And by that, I mean bowel moving. Donald Trump has spent years touting his unwavering patriotism and claiming no one cared about Americans more than he did. But when he actually has an opportunity to put America first, he does the exact opposite. Cutting Medicaid from 17 million people is not America first. Cutting food assistance from millions of citizens is not America first. And using the office of the presidency as leverage to grow your family's private business is definitely not America first. All of Trump's actions aren't simply diabolical and greedy, they are also completely antithetical to the brand. It's like a Nike ad telling you to just do it, and then showing you LeBron James sleeping for 8 hours. But since honesty has never been Trump's forte, his real agenda stays hidden. This man is not a patriot, he is a snake oil salesman who's more than happy to line his pockets while everyday Americans suffer. Or, as he calls it,
America first.
Sure.